Information has emerged regarding Ukraine's possible preparations for a new invasion of Russia. Russian media says that reports are coming in from the special military operation zone of a large concentration of elite units of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Belgorod direction. Military blogger Vladimir Romanov reported on soldiers from the 82nd and 95th Airborne Assault Brigades and the 148th Artillery Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, who was spotted near the Belgorod region. Most of the battalions from these brigades have not been at the front for a long time, likely replenishing their losses and replenishing their numbers, and could now be deployed to breach the state border, he explained. Ukraine doesn't care about the fate of Ukrainian Armed Forces personnel, as long as the political picture looks good, according to the military blogger. In this regard, he noted that Kiev is capable of any adventure. Ukrainian Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky announced new offensives against Russia. He also emphasized that Ukrainian troops cannot achieve victory while on the defensive. Our key objective is to inflict maximum losses on the enemy, destroy its reserves, and gradually reduce its offensive potential, the military commander said. Russia has explained the Ukrainian Armed Forces' attempts to attack Belgorod. Blogger Boris Rosin, who covers the special military operation, discovered the possible motivations for the ongoing attacks on the regional center on Telegram. He published his message against the backdrop of new attempts by Ukrainian troops to strike Belgorod. The attacks on Belgorod are an attempt by the Ukrainian Armed Forces to retaliate for the blackout in central and eastern Ukraine, Rosin wrote. He noted that Ukrainian troops are unable to cope with the current situation. Therefore, the blogger asserts strikes on energy facilities in Ukraine will continue. More will follow this evening and at night, he added. The Ukrainian Armed Forces have no chance of breaking through the Russian border, State Duma Deputy Andrei Kolesnik stated. I don't think they have any chance of breaking through right now, although 3 brigades is a serious matter. Even more so, 1 artillery brigade is a serious matter. They also have missiles in addition to rifled weapons, and they're well equipped with drones, the parliamentarian said. According to him, the accumulation of Ukrainian troops near the border may be connected with the upcoming trilateral negotiations between Russia, the United States, and Ukraine. Earlier, honored military pilot of Russia, Major General Vladimir Popov, stated that the Russian army should definitely expect further strikes from the Ukrainian armed forces. He was commenting on the words of the Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky, who announced new offensives. According to the officer, Kiev has not yet committed 3 brigades based in western Ukraine, which are well trained and armed with modern small arms, but are experiencing equipment shortages.
On January 28, the Russian aerospace forces lost 2 Su-30 and Su-34 fighter jets at once, the first due to a technical malfunction even without the help of the Ukrainian armed forces. This was reported by the publication NV, citing a statement by the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant Andrei Kovalenko. According to him, one of the Su-30 aircraft was probably shot down by the anti-aircraft missile complex Patriot. Later, the aviation analytics account Avivector on the social network X reported that the Su-34 crashed due to a malfunction at around 3:30 p.m. in the Kursk region. It had arrived there to carry out a combat mission from its base in the Saratov region. Analysts claim the Su-30 was shot down by the Ukrainian armed forces in the Black Sea. While Ukraine awaits confirmation from the General Staff, Russian Z-bloggers are complaining about the loss of pilots, with both crews killed. Petro Andriashenko, head of the Center for the Study of the Occupation of Ukraine, also reported that the Russians had preliminarily lost 2 aircraft on January 28, a Su-34 and a Su-30. According to Telegram channels, the Russian armed forces may have lost the second fighter in the Kursk region. The Su-34 is one of the main aircraft used by Russian occupiers to deliver guided bombs during strikes on Ukrainian territory. The loss of the Su-34 comes amid a sharp increase in the intensity of airstrikes in Ukraine. In October 2025, the enemy significantly increased its use of guided bombs. Over the course of the month, the occupiers dropped more than 5,328 guided bombs on Ukrainian defense forces positions and frontline cities. Russia is constantly losing aircraft in the war in Ukraine. The SBU's Alpha Special Forces unit alone destroyed 11 combat aircraft, 3 helicopters, and an An-26 transport aircraft in 2025. Over the past year, the Security Service of Ukraine's Alpha Special Forces unit conducted a series of successful operations using long-range drones. The attacks resulted in the destruction of 5 Russian military airfields. Tankers carrying Russian oil continue to navigate European waters. If a vessel belonging to the Shadow Fleet is stopped, it should not be released. In this case, the military intelligence of Ukraine exposed 66 ships of the Shadow Oil Fleet of Russia, Iran and Venezuela, and also the vessels involved in the theft of Ukrainian grain and the violation of the state cordon of Ukraine. It should be noted that the military intelligence of Ukraine reveals the activities of tankers from the network of the group of companies Samari Shipmanagement Ltd from Cyprus and Samari Navigation FCC from UAE. Since 2023, until now, the tanker fleet of the group of companies Samari Shipmanagement Ltd and Samari Navigation FCC has been providing oil dollars to Russia for the continuation of the war against Ukraine, concealing the registration of companies in the States, members of the European Union. The top manager of this group is Nikolai Spichanok, a citizen of Great Britain, who worked for a long time and continues to work in managerial positions in the largest state-owned shipping company of Russia, PJSC Sovcomflot, as well as in related structures. As a reminder, PJSC Sovcomflot, which is under the sanctions of most countries of the Sanctions Coalition, provides transportation of Russian oil, petroleum products and liquefied gas, cooperating with leading Russian oil and gas companies and traders. Currently, tankers from the orbit of Sovcomflot, including those involved in the transportation of oil and petroleum products from Venezuela, are massively changing their flags to Russian ones, actually confirming their involvement in serving the military and economic interests of the aggressor state. Previously, such shadow fleets sailed under the flags of third countries to avoid sanctions from Western states. This trend directly corresponds to the provisions of the maritime doctrine of the Russian Federation, which provides expansion of the civil fleet under the flag of Russia and its use to ensure national interests in the world ocean, strengthening of mobilization readiness in the maritime sphere, integration of pre-prepared civilian vessels and crews into the armed forces of Russia during wartime. Military intelligence of Ukraine separately urges captains and crews of vessels of the Shadow Fleet to avoid cooperation with Shadow Companies operators of vessels. Troubled operators of the Shadow Fleet are the first to disappear as soon as the vessel comes to the attention of law enforcement agencies, leaving the sailors alone with the legal, financial and humanitarian consequences of the crime.